Q and Review, celebrating 40 years of audio production, welcomes you to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast, recorded from our studio in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre and by our volunteers working from home. Keep up to date with Q and Review news via our Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, or Instagram at Q and Review. That's @CUEANDREVIEW, or get in touch with us directly by emailing information@qandreview.com. That's INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling us on 0141 772 3979. Please like and share our podcast and give us constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, June 9. Boston extends bar hours for Scotland fans at World Cup. Report by Donald Erskine. Tartan Army fans have been given a huge boost as the party will not stop early while they are in Boston, after the city's top officials signed off on an extension for last call. Lawmakers in the state of Massachusetts backed a proposal on Monday to allow pubs and bars to push back their last orders to 3 a.m. It will also allow fans to drink in designated public spaces until the end of July to accommodate leniency for the city's FIFA World Cup matches. The Massachusetts House and Senate voted in favour of sending the bill to Governor Maura Healey on Monday afternoon, and she signed it just days before thousands of Scotland fans will descend on Boston. Scotland will play their opening match against Haiti at Boston Stadium in Foxborough in the early hours of Sunday UK time, and will face Morocco there and Brazil in Miami later in the tournament. Healey said in a statement after signing the bill, "This bill will provide more opportunities for people to celebrate with their community for the World Cup and the other exciting events we have happening this summer for MA 250, Massachusetts 250. State Senator Barry Feingold added, "The World Cup is coming to town, and for once we're not turning in early." The bill will continue with the extended opening hours running throughout the summer as the state celebrates America's 250th anniversary. Scotland head to their first World Cup since 1998 under manager Steve Clarke, captained by Andy Robertson, and drawn in Group C, which looks daunting but offers a genuine opportunity to finally reach the knockout stage. The squad turned up and tuned up with games against Curacao and Bolivia, finishing with a convincing 4-0 win over Bolivia, which has seen belief in the national side soar. With the extended format of this World Cup, meaning that there are more chances than ever to progress beyond the group stages, on paper Scotland's route seems simple: beat Haiti, take something from Morocco, and break our World Cup bad luck against Brazil. Tartan Army fans will be hoping that last call is not the only extension awaiting them this tournament, and they might be able to stay across the pond a little longer. Report by Donald Erskine. Evening Times Sport, June 9. Dermot Desmond urged to back Celtic manager this summer. Report by Ryan McGinley. Alan McInally believes Martin O'Neill will have been promised significant backing to shape Celtic in his image as the club prepares to confirm him as permanent manager. The Northern Irishman is set to sign a one-year deal with the option of a further 12 months at Parkhead. Former striker McInally has welcomed the move, but insists Dermot Desmond must provide the funds required to sustain success. He said, "I can only assume Martin will be given a decent bag of money to bring in some players. He should get it. I don't think Dermot Desmond can give him 50 quid and then say, 'Go and win the league.'" McInally pointed to frustration among supporters over recruitment strategy last season, adding, "Speaking to Celtic fans, there was a frustration about, maybe not the lack of investment as such, but the lack of investment at the right times or the right kind of spending. I don't know if there was an attitude, we've got enough to win the league. Okay, they did win it eventually, but we could see that it was by no means a certainty, and it could have gone either way." He expects O'Neill to demand assurances as he looks to reshape the squad, and said, "I would have thought Martin will have had asked for some guarantees, because he will want to freshen up the squad. There will be players leaving, and he will want to bring in others who are really competitive. He will want to make sure he's not just challenging for the league, but also in Europe." With rivals expected to strengthen, McInally warned Celtic cannot stand still, and he added, "It does not look like Hearts will be going anywhere, and we don't know how deep the Rangers' pockets are. You have to think those two will come strong again, and Celtic will need to be ready. The Champions League was a massive disappointment last year, and that's something Martin will want to address, because that is the stage that Celtic have to be on." Meanwhile, John Barnes has backed the permanent appointment of O'Neill, insisting it is a good move for both Celtic and the veteran manager. As it was not yet officially confirmed, but it has been widely reported that the 74-year-old has agreed to return to Celtic. Barnes, whom O'Neill replaced as Celtic manager permanently in the year 2000, believes this move suits all parties ahead of a busy summer, both on and off the pitch. And he said, "Well, as you can see in football these days, there's no such thing as a long-term appointment. I think it's a good move for a big club like Celtic, because if it does not work out, he will be quite happy to step to the side, and he will not have a long contract, so it won't cost the club a lot of money. A few years ago you would probably argue that you would want a bit more stability and a manager with a longer contract, but look what happened to Arne Slot at Liverpool. This is football. I think the move suits Martin and Celtic." And Chris Sutton has also had his say when he questioned Celtic's handling of the managerial situation. The former striker believes the issue now goes beyond O'Neill's position and cuts to the heart of how the club plans to back him in the transfer market. And he said, "The biggest thing which I have been confused with is why we are over 2 weeks on from the end of the season and Celtic winning the double, and the announcement still officially has not been made. It is about communication, and the fact that there is this silence and the decision-making is taking so long. That is what I cannot understand. What's going to be important is not just about Martin being the manager again. It's about what's going to happen in terms of recruitment. The last 2 windows Celtic have had has been an absolute disaster. He is in a very strong position. He's saying, 'Give me what I want.'" Evening Times Sport, June 10. Celtic defender moves to English Championship hopefuls. Report by Ryan McGinley. Swansea City have confirmed the signing of Stephen Welsh ahead of his exit from Celtic. The Championship side, who already have Adam Ida within their ranks, have secured the 26-year-old on a 2-year deal with the option of a further 12 months. Speaking to club media following the announcement, Welsh said, "I am delighted to be joining Swansea. It is a big club with a proud history. They made it clear that they really wanted me, and with the way the head coach spoke about the club, the environment he wants to create, and the way he wants to play, it was a no-brainer. The Championship is a brilliant division, and one I am excited to be playing my football in and challenging myself in. I have experience, but I am also young enough to be ready for a new opportunity and a new chapter in my career. I am really looking forward to getting to South Wales and playing in front of the supporters. I hope we can improve on last season and achieve what we want to, because we have some great players here and the plans for the future are exciting." Swansea head coach Vitor Matos added, "Stephen is an experienced player who will add quality to our squad. He is calm, mobile, and used to playing for teams who look to be dominant with and without the ball. We are really pleased to have come to an agreement, and we are looking forward to starting work with him in the new season." Meanwhile, Celtic have stepped up their pursuit of FC Aro striker Elias Feely as they look to strengthen their attack this summer. Feely is attracting strong interest after a prolific campaign in the Swiss Challenge League, where he scored 22 goals last season. The Scottish champions are said to have opened discussions with the 24-year-old's representatives, including a video call yesterday, as they aim to agree personal terms before negotiating with the Swiss club. However, Celtic face significant competition. According to the source, Belgian side Genk have already submitted an offer for the forward, while French outfit Lorient have made contact with his camp and are expected to follow up with a formal bid. With just 1 year remaining on his contract, a summer move looks increasingly likely as multiple clubs battle for his signature. As things stand, Celtic only have Dazen Maeda and Johnny Kenny as recognised strikers within their ranks, with Kelechi Iheanacho's year option yet to be decided. Lone strikers Junior Adamu and Thomas Vankara have both returned to their parent clubs in Germany. Meanwhile, Jackie McNamara has warned Celtic to expect transfer interest in Alistair Johnston this summer, following the defender's return from injury. The Canada international missed the bulk of last season with a hamstring issue, but came back in time to help Celtic secure a 5th consecutive title. With a home World Cup on the horizon, McNamara believes strong performances would attract attention from elsewhere. "I think Johnson has been a great signing for Celtic, and they will be hoping he's one who stays. But anybody, even someone like Benjamin Nygren after the goals he scored, if they have a good World Cup, they will be linked with moves. If players are doing well and their numbers are good, teams will be interested. It might be the same with AJ." Evening Times Sport, June 10. Weir leads the charge as Scots ladies seal top group. Report by Alison McConnell. Appearances can be deceptive. A 5-1 win would not suggest an edginess about an evening, but this was a fraught one concluding the FIFA Women's World Cup qualification tie for Scotland, who once more had Caroline Weir to thank for another avalanche of goals. A hat-trick on Friday and 4 last night in Budapest. Israel will be delighted to see the back of her. But with goals raining down in Luxembourg in the game between them and Belgium, this was a night when Scotland came within a whisper of being knocked off the top spot. As it is, they prevailed to finish the campaign top, courtesy of a better goal difference of 1, unbeaten, and on their way back to Nations League A. They will now be seeded for the autumn playoff games as they look to make their way back to the FIFA Women's World Cup for the first time since 2019. Said Andrietta, "We had the tech in place, so we knew in the technical area what was going on in the other game. But I was calm. I did not communicate any of what was going on in the Belgium game to the players on the pitch, but what I could sense from them was a hunger and desire to keep going and keep scoring. I felt really confident. It is a great achievement for them to go and top the group, and they should enjoy this moment. We know there are some pretty big games ahead of us now, but it is a great achievement for us to have finished where we have. I am incredibly proud of them." There was no Erin Cuthbert for Scotland after the knee injury she sustained on Friday evening meant a premature return home. It proved to be business as usual, however, even without the tenacity of Cuthbert in the middle of the park. Weir picked up where she left off on Friday night with another goal, the first of the evening to get Andriatta's side up and running. Having collected on the edge of the box, the midfielder worked her way along the line, arching a left-foot shot past Israel goalkeeper Fortuna Rubin. Clark doubled Scotland's lead when she turned in Kathleen McGovern's cross. It meant that, as they had on Friday night, Scotland headed into the break with a 2-goal cushion. Andriatta had stressed that they could not afford to look at what was going on in the game between Luxembourg and Belgium, but it was inevitable, as both games played out, and both fought it out for the top spot in the group, that news would filter through. McGovern missed a chance to add a third for Scotland after the restart, when she could not quite get behind an awkward bounce of the ball that allowed Rubin to collect. When former Glasgow City forward Vital Katz pulled one back for Israel just before the hour mark, Scotland got a little more jittery. They controlled the game but could not generate the same clinical edge that they had shown days earlier. When news came through that Belgium had scored a third against Luxembourg, a goal that cut Scotland's goal difference advantage down to just 2, there was a palpable sense of anxiety. Andriatta rang the changes with Emma Lawton, Christy Grimshaw, and Kirsty Howard introduced, while Rachel McLaughlin, McGovern and Chelsea Cornett made way. With news of another Belgium goal coming through, and just a goal between the two teams, Scotland badly needed to extend their lead. It came somewhat fortuitously from the spot, after Israel were penalised for the use of a hand in a cluttered box. Weir took the resultant spot kick, driving the effort low to the goalkeeper's left to give Scotland some much-needed breathing space. They were significantly more relieved moments later when Weir completed her hat-trick with a wonderful goal. Amy Muir was the provider, sliding a corner to the midfielder, whose effort thumped off the underside of the bar before going into the back of the net. Howitt came close to a fifth, but was denied at the last moment. But as the flurry of goals kept coming from Luxembourg, the tension remained within the game. Again it was Weir to whom Scotland turned with a fourth goal, her seventh goal in 2 games, as Andreatta's side kept their noses in front at the top of League B. Even then the finale was tense. Luxembourg's 7th goal meant that until the whistle went, there was a nervousness despite the scale of the win. Joked Andreatta, "All I can say about Caroline is that I am glad she is on my team. I don't have the vocabulary to be able to come up with all the superlatives that we could say about her performances. But what I love about her is that she will be the first one to applaud the group and say how proud she is of the teammates who are round about her. And that is what she does. She brings everyone up. She has this fantastic leadership that makes everyone have a sense of belief. And you can see, of course, just what a wonderful talent that she is. She is a fantastic footballer, and I was delighted with her to go and make her mark across these games the way that she has. We are just delighted to have her." Report by Alison McConnell. Evening Times Sport, June 10. Tartan Army issued shark warning ahead of World Cup. Report by Mark Walker. Scotland fans have been handed an unusual World Cup warning. Beware of sharks. Tens of thousands of Tartan Army members will be in the USA for Scotland's first World Cup appearance for 20 years, which kicks off in the early hours of Sunday morning against Haiti. They will be based all over the New England area, and the Atlantic peninsula of Cape Cod is one of the most popular places to visit for visitors from Boston, with Scotland fans having 6 days between the first and second games in the group stages. However, while Scotland fans may recognise Jaws as the nickname for legendary striker Joe Jordan, who scored in 3 consecutive World Cups, they have been advised to take special care because of a migration of great white sharks at present, who have been spotted near beaches. The Cape Cod National Seashore Service stated, "We welcome our extra visitors this week who are in the area for the World Cup matches. Nothing is more important to us than visitor safety. To help reduce risks when recreating in wild habitats, the park will continue to explore ways to educate the public about sharks. It is rare for a great white shark to bite a human, but it can happen. Cape Cod's waters are part of a natural and wild marine ecosystem with a rich diversity of sea life. This wild area includes sharks, which have existed for more than 400 million years. If you choose to recreate in white shark habitat, be aware that sharks hunt for seals in shallow water. Stay close to shore where rescuers can reach you. Do not isolate yourself. Swim, paddle, kayak, and surf in groups. Avoid areas where seals are present. Avoid areas where schools of fish are visible, and avoid murky or low visibility areas. Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, June 10. World Cup set to inspire a new generation of Scotland footballers. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Maurice Malpass believes that seeing Scotland take part in their first World Cup in 28 years in the United States in the coming days will inspire a new generation of youngsters to play for their country. The national team, who will square up to Haiti in their opening Group C match on Saturday night before facing Morocco and Brazil, have not been involved in the international tournament since France '98. Former Dundee United fullback Malpass can still remember the huge impact that watching the finals in West Germany in 1974 and Argentina in 1978 had on him when he was a boy. The man who went on to represent Scotland at Mexico '86 and Italia '90 thinks that seeing Andy Robertson and his teammates in action will make kids across the country strive to emulate them in the years to come. And he said, "I sat and watched the World Cup on a black and white TV when I was growing up. Once the games were finished, I was out in the back garden kicking a ball, imitating the players that I had just watched and dreaming of being part of it one day. I am sure there are guys in the current Scotland squad who watched the World Cup and dreamt of being involved. Some of them were not born the last time we were there, but they will have watched other finals and hope to get there one day. I'm sure a lot of kids will be doing the same thing in the next few weeks." For a youngster, it is everything. You want to be a footballer playing in the World Cup for Scotland. I was fortunate enough to become a professional player and go on and do it a couple of times. I can remember watching my United teammate Dave Neary scoring his goal against Brazil at Spain in 1982 when I was on a beach in Corfu. Even then I thought to myself, I'd love to play at the World Cup. 4 years after that, I was away to Mexico '86. It's a massive thrill just to get picked to go to the World Cup. To actually get picked for the games is an incredible feeling. You do let your mind wander a wee bit when you're listening to the national anthems before kick-off. The hairs on the back of your neck are standing up. Then bang, you're at it, you're playing. Your natural instinct takes over. You just get wired into it. It's a massive achievement to get there and a massive thrill to play. Malpass started in the matches against Denmark and West Germany at Mexico '86, and then in the group games against Costa Rica, Sweden and Brazil at Italia '90. But he was unable to help the national team to reach the knockout rounds at either of those World Cups, and he knows the current side will be determined to progress to the last 32 and make history this time around. And he says, "None of us were fortunate enough or good enough to play in a team that managed to go through. These Scotland players will be wanting to get that monkey off their back and get out of the group stages. That's a massive thing now." Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, June 12. Athletes owe debt of gratitude to Glasgow 2026. Report by Peter Jardine. Ailey Doyle passionately believes 3,000 athletes owe Scotland and Glasgow 2026 an enormous debt of gratitude for saving the Commonwealth Games brand. Scotland's most decorated track and field medalist retired with a European title and Olympic relay bronze among her personal Hall of Fame. But Doyle has highlighted her Glasgow 2014 silver medal, one of 3 in the women's 400 metres hurdles, and being Team Scotland flag bearer in Gold Coast 4 years later, as the main highlights of a stellar career. "When I retired 5 years ago, I took time to reflect on my career," said Doyle. "At one point I sat down with my parents to ask them to tell me their favourite moments when they had supported me in competition. My dad, Ronnie, went for the lap of honour at Hampden at Glasgow 2014 after I won the silver medal. My mum, Gillian, chose me being Team Scotland flag bearer in 2018 at the Gold Coast Games in Australia. So there are two huge highlights from my career across many championships, and yet both are from the Commonwealth Games and representing Scotland, which always feels very special. It is a multi-sport event, which makes it different for track and field athletes and those in other sports. We as a country have had many iconic sporting moments at the Commonwealth, and I don't think we can afford to lose that platform. I had retired come 2022 when Eilish McColgan won gold in the women's 10,000 metres on an amazing night in Birmingham. What a race and what a night! That captivated people watching. Doyle was still a teacher by profession when she won her first Games silver in Delhi in 2010. When she added a second at Hampden, she was a poster girl for the event. 4 years later, a third successive silver was earned in Gold Coast with husband Brian by then, also her coach. The different staging posts of her career were in her thoughts again, when the Commonwealth Games looked like dropping off the sporting map 2 years ago when Australia pulled out. I think the Commonwealth Games is such an important event, and for various reasons, Ailey told a Q&A forum in Glasgow. A lot of athletes may see the Games as a stepping stone, while for a lot of athletes it is the pinnacle. There is real relevance there for athletes at different points in their careers. For that period when we maybe thought it might not happen, I would have been absolutely devastated to lose the Commonwealth. Now I am feeling excited and positive. Not only has it been saved as a brand, but it has been saved by Glasgow, and that feels special. In the countdown to Glasgow 2014, Ailey stood on the roof of Hampden, holding a saltire for a photo opportunity. The image was not mocked up or photoshopped, and she has never asked about the risk assessment. With World Cup fever running high, she expects those wearing Team Scotland vests at Scotstoun next month to feel an enormous surge of pride. And she added, "It's different because our top athletes often represent Great Britain. I think because we don't get the opportunity to do it that often, I think everybody says that when the Commonwealth Games does come around, it is so special because it's the one time we get to be Team Scotland. That is an added element to it. The athletics team for Glasgow 26 is being selected, and I don't know the names yet, but I am aware that every single one of our top stars, those who represent Great Britain and Northern Ireland, put themselves forward for selection. That says it all. For a lot of us as well, when you're in that team, you know each other so well. Almost everyone has emerged from the athletics pathway in Scotland along the way. You've come from the age group championships together, the Scottish schools together, or you've been on junior teams together, so there is definitely an added element of team spirit. The team that's smaller than Great Britain and Northern Ireland as well. There's so many elements that combine to inspire and motivate. When you put on that Scotland kit and line up to compete, well, it is just really special. It's such a great moment. Report by Peter Jardine. Times Sport, June 12. Celtic boss vows to drive club forward. Report by Gavin McCafferty. Martin O'Neill vowed to drive Celtic forward following last season's rescue act, as he committed himself to at least another year in charge. O'Neill has signed a new one-year contract with the option for a further campaign after leading the Hoops to a League and Scottish Cup double in his second spell in charge last term. The 74-year-old kicked off Celtic's sustained dominance of Scottish football in the first 5 years of the century and described it as a great privilege to continue as manager. And he said on Celtic's website, "Last season will live long in all our memories, and to be part of that success has, in a big way, whetted the appetite to work again for more days like those and bring our supporters those moments." The former Republic of Ireland manager led Celtic to 9 consecutive wins to round off the season in style. O'Neill steadied the ship after the sudden departure of Brendan Rodgers and won 7 out of 8 games before returning again after the brief but disastrous reign of Wilfred Nancy, who lost 6 out of his 8 matches. Celtic won 19 fixtures and drew 2 of O'Neill's 23 William Hill Premiership games in charge, and he also led them to 2 cup wins over Rangers, as well as progress to the Europa League knockout stage. O'Neill, who has now won 9 trophies as Celtic manager, said, "We know, of course, that Celtic can never rest on past success, so we are now aiming to drive forward together in the coming season as we aim to deliver again for the club and our fans." Confirmation of O'Neill's appointment came hours after reports had claimed the news had been delayed amid uncertainty over his backroom staff. Assistants Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham were reportedly offered wage cuts to remain part of O'Neill's coaching team. There was no mention of other coaching staff in the club announcement. O'Neill agreed to return to Celtic Park amid protests from supporters over the prospect of Robbie Keane taking charge. Principal shareholder Dermot Desmond reportedly spoke with the Irishman, whose stint at Maccabi Tel Aviv during Israel's bombing of Gaza sparked opposition from a section of Celtic supporters. Desmond said, "Time and time again, Martin has shown his qualities and what he can bring to Celtic. We know he is a winner. We know what the club means to him, and he continues to be the outstanding candidate to give us the best opportunity to realise our objectives. The club will support Martin fully again across the close season to make sure we are well prepared to achieve domestic success and compete on the European stage." Interim Chairman Brian Wilson added, "This is the start of a busy summer, and we will ensure that we are in the best possible position to compete with Martin back at the helm." Chief Executive Michael Nicholson added, "We have important challenges ahead, and the immediate priority of everyone at the club is to ensure we are ready to tackle these with confidence and deliver success again for our supporters." Meanwhile, Celtic have been fined £10,000 and handed further suspended sanctions following pitch invasions from their fans in the final 2 league games of the season. The Scottish Professional Football League has taken disciplinary action against Celtic, Motherwell, Inverness, Hamilton and Stenhousemuir following incidents last month. However, none of the clubs face immediate action relating to restrictions on supporters attending matches. Celtic fans invaded the pitch at Fir Park and Parkhead following stoppage time goals against Motherwell and Hearts. Play did not restart on either occasion, and Hearts released a statement on the day of their title-deciding defeat, which read, "Reports of serious physical and verbal abuse towards our players and staff, both on the pitch and elsewhere, are deeply disturbing. Celtic have been fined £7,500 over that incident and would face a reduction in capacity of 1,000 seats to be taken from the front rows at Celtic Park if a significant pitch incursion is repeated at the stadium at an SPFL match in the next 2 seasons. They face a reduction of 100 tickets for an away game if there is a significant pitch invasion or orchestrated or excessively dangerous use of pyrotechnics at an away ground next season. Fans celebrated the win at Motherwell with a display of flares after the game. Motherwell face the closure of Block E in the John Hunter stand for 1 game if their fans repeat the type of pyrotechnic displays that took place during their 3-2 defeat by Celtic, or if there is a significant pitch incursion next season. The Lanarkshire club were also fined £2,500 after being charged over the use of fireworks and a pitch incursion. Both clubs must also refer at least 5 supporters to the SPFL Trust Pyrotechnic Awareness Course. An SPFL spokesperson said, "Supporters entering the field of play in any circumstances is wholly unacceptable and puts players, fans and match officials at significant risk of physical harm. The use of pyrotechnics at matches is illegal and highly dangerous." The SPFL has been repeatedly clear that there is no place for the behaviour in Scottish football. We will continue to work together with stakeholders, including the Scottish FA, Police Scotland and the Scottish Government, to address challenges surrounding unacceptable conduct at matches. Inverness were fined £1,000 following a pitch invasion against Hamilton, which resulted in violence between rival fans. They face the closure of half of the North Stand for 1 game if there is another significant pitch incursion in the next 2 years. Hamilton were fined £1,000 over the same incident and were handed a formal warning and reprimand following a pitch incursion at their play-off against Clyde. Stenhousemuir face a 150-seat sanction if their fans repeat the pitch invasion that followed their play-off success over Alloa. Report by Gavin McCafferty. Evening Times Sport, June 12. Roll the man for Red Bull, reports Chris Jack. Austrian giants RB Salzburg are targeting a move for Rangers boss Danny Röhl. Röhl previously worked for the Red Bull Group during his time in Leipzig at the start of his coaching career. It is understood the 37-year-old has emerged as a target to take over at the Bundesliga outfit this summer. Röhl was appointed as head coach at Rangers last October as he succeeded Russell Martin. The German lost to Celtic in both cup competitions and saw his side collapse in the final weeks of the Premiership title race as Rangers finished third in the standings. Röhl still has admirers within the Red Bull organisation, however, and he is in the running to take over the side that were behind champions LASK and Sturm Graz last term. Röhl has also worked with Bayern Munich and the German national side and moved to Glasgow months after leaving Sheffield Wednesday. Initial contact has been made, but Röhl is not pushing for a move ahead of the return to pre-season training. Chairman Andrew Kavanagh gave his support to Röhl last month. Rangers are due to report for pre-season training at Auchenhowie next week. Report by Chris Jack. Evening Times Sport, June 12. Injured Gilmer jets into Boston. Report by Stephen McGowan. Billy Gilmer has flown to Boston to lend his support to Scotland teammates ahead of the World Cup curtain raiser against Haiti. The Napoli midfielder's hopes of being part of Steve Clarke's 26-man squad were cruelly curtailed by a knee injury sustained against Curacao hours before the squad travelled to the United States. A key player during qualification, Gilmer marked his 25th birthday by meeting up with management and players as they arrived at their Boston hotel. Speaking at the Charlotte training camp before the team moved north to finalise preparations for the Group C opener against Haiti in the early hours of Sunday morning, midfielder Kenny McLean said, "Billy just landed and is going to come and see the lads tonight, which is amazing." Laughing, he added, "It is his birthday as well, so happy birthday, Billy. I think he has turned 17, I'm not sure, but he is going to be here. He obviously wants to experience things around the lads, also around the city with fans, to soak in the atmosphere. He obviously deserves so much more for what he has given, but there is going to be more opportunity. There is going to be so much more opportunity for Billy. I know it's not what he wants to hear right now, but there will be. What an amazing talent, what an amazing young man, and it will be good to see him." McLean also addressed a late World Cup scare created when Gilmer's Napoli clubmate Scott McTominay missed training with a stomach upset. A conspicuous absentee from a squad session in baking hot temperatures in North Carolina, the SFA have played down any concerns over a bug in the squad, with manager Steve Clarke set to clarify the state of play. While McTominay's absence would enhance his own hopes of playing, McLean hopes and believes that the Napoli star will be fit for kick-off in the Boston Stadium in the early hours of Sunday morning. And he says, "I am sure everybody has fingers crossed that Scotty will be fine, and I'm sure he will be. Everybody knows what Scotty brings. It is quite apparent how big a player he is for us. For all that it has been a team effort, and always will be a real team effort, but we have special players at the core. He is obviously desperate to play, and his preparations have been amazing apart from maybe something he has eaten somewhere along the line. But he is up on a mural for a reason. He is a true talent, a special player, an amazing guy, and an amazing part of the team. He is a big character around the place, but it is a team effort, and I'm sure Scotty would be the first to say that." Report by Stephen McGowan.
From the Glasgow Times, Sunday the 14th of June 2026, from the sports section. Derek McInnes and the Rangers' powerhouse verdict after Hearts' exit, by Martin McMillan. Derek McInnes' imminent move to Rangers could weaken Hearts' Scottish Premiership challenge, taking Gers back to powerhouse status in the process. Former Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino believes McInnes' departure and Lawrence Shankland's move to Rangers could diminish Hearts' competitive edge. Cascarino praised the incredible job McInnes did last season, leading the Jambos to within 3 minutes of the league title. He said, "Derek McInnes did an incredible job at Hearts last season, and Shankland going there to Rangers as well. I'm sure Rangers fans will be delighted." However, Cascarino expressed concern about the impact of McInnes' departure on Hearts' future performance. He noted the disruption caused by the loss of their manager and key player to a rival club. Cascarino said, "The sad thing is that one of the teams that's come out of the pack in Scottish football, it's always been Rangers and Celtic, and there's been a team that's dented that this year, even though Celtic won it." He believes McInnes' move to Ibrox indicates a reversion to the dominance of the old firm clubs. Cascarino's comments highlight the potential impact of managerial changes on the balance of power in the Scottish Premiership. That article was written by Martin McMillan and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Sunday the 14th of June 2026, from his sports section, exclusive. Inside Boston chaos for Scotland's FIFA World Cup opener v Haiti. An exclusive written by Donald Erskine. After a shot heard round the world for Scotland fans, John McGinn sealed a nerve-wracking first FIFA World Cup victory for the national side in years. And while the scenes on the pitch weren't an easy watch, the Tartan Armour's experience off it hasn't been pretty either. Who cares, we won, were the words of Scotland manager Steve Clarke following the 1-0 win over Haiti at Boston Stadium. And, while every single fan will agree with that sentiment, there's no doubt that, despite paying through the nose to be here, there have been major issues for them. In the days leading up to the game, we spoke with dozens of fans who hadn't been able to secure tickets because they were priced out, and then couldn't get into the free FIFA fan zone at Boston City Plaza. The 5,000 capacity venue was where I watched the frustration, elation and relief flow through the lucky fans who managed to secure a ticket through the lottery system. However, with an estimated 50,000 plus Scottish fans here, the host hadn't provided a suitable space for them, not to mention they ran out of beer at some bars. Before the fan zone had even opened, Boston City Councillor John Fitzgerald told us, "We got the heads up that the Tartan Army rolls deep," before blaming the small capacity on Boston being one of the oldest cities in America, and claiming that they don't make a lot of land anymore, and admitted that they're lacking on hosting these big events. For those heading to the game, after shelling out thousands, they faced the biggest queues they've seen in their life to get the MBTE train down to Foxborough, or joined the thousands riding in rented yellow school buses to the stadium. When they arrived, you'd imagine the 65,000 capacity stadium would be set up to handle the influx of kilt-clad fans. Think again. Thousands queued up at the turnstiles in the searing heat, with some fans saying they didn't move in the line for over an hour. One fan told us that, eventually, security just gave up and let us all through. What awaited then was Scottish as a win as one can get. Our sports writer in the stadium said it felt like an exorcism. A tense, nervous cleansing of the soul. Carrying the hopes of a nation after 28 years of World Cup drought can't lead to relaxed football. The Tartan Army showed up for them in their usual splendid fashion. In the stadium, it's been reported that 125 decibel sound level was recorded during Flower of Scotland, which makes it the loudest noise at a World Cup tournament ever. In the fan zone, the noise was just as ferocious for the anthem. Out with the game, Scottish fans dance with Haitians before the match, bringing the joy that turns them adoration wherever they go. They've also gone viral after being filmed playing keepy-uppies with a Boston police officer in the fan zone, in yet another moment of Tartan Army brilliance. That magic was in full display the day before the game, as Craig Ferguson finished his 3,200-mile trek across America in Boston Common, in front of thousands cheering him on. Ferguson, from Paisley, told us at the emotional finish line that it showed what Scotland was all about. That sentiment was shared by Scotland's First Minister, John Swinney, when I sat down for a pint with him in the Haven Bar in the city. Swinney said he was immensely proud of Craig and the entire Tartan Army for being great ambassadors for the country. After the First Minister announced that the Scottish Government had pledged £400,000 to Craig's fundraising efforts, which now stand at £1.1 million, Reform UK's Malcolm Offord called out the donation and urged Swinney to instead donate the sum from his own pocket. Swinney told us that he thought Offord was pretty pathetic and called the comments mean-spirited. The Haven was hosting Scotland's top official as he presented the Tartan Army Sunshine Appeal's £5,000 cheque to Project Goal in the 112th donation made by the fan-run charity's lifetime. The night prior, Swinney was joined by Massachusetts Governor Moira Healey and Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, who both commented on the immediate impact the Tartan Army have had on the host city and state. Haley joked she was going to have to put out an SOS to Canada for more alcohol, and Wu added that she understood that it took a Scot to get rid of the British 251 years ago after seeing and meeting the Tartan Army. And it's that historic element that this transatlantic trip for Scotland's national team and fans keeps coming back to. Some milestones have already been hit. The 28-year wait for an appearance at the tournament is now behind them, and the first win at the World Cup since 1990 and the first opening game win since 1974 are done and dusted. But what's next? Could the group stage curse that has befallen the team for decades finally be lifted? The shot heard around the world refers to the first fighting between colonial militiamen and British troops near Boston in 1775, which ignited the American Revolutionary War and ultimately led to the creation of the United States. Super John McGinn's name was sung and heard around the city, if not the world, following last night's game, and the nation will be hoping that it sparks a Tartan revolution that takes them to the round of 32 for the first time. Sitting at the top of Group C, you can't help but feel that belief starting to bubble up to the boil. And while we'll need to wait until they take on Morocco to see if Steve Clark's-Bairn can rise to the occasion, you have to hope, for the sake of the fans who've been through the financial and emotional wringer to get here, that the organisers find a way to also step up their game, too. That article was an exclusive written by Donald Erskine and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Sunday the 14th of June 2026, from the sports section, Scotland 1, Haiti 0. Instant reaction to the burning issues, by sports writer at large, Stephen McGowan. Scotland's first World Cup appearance in 28 years felt like an exorcism. A tense, nervous cleansing of the soul. As Haiti won free kick after free kick, firing one ball after another into the mixer, 6 added minutes felt like a weekend trip to hell. This was a game, the one they really had to win. The baking heat of Boston took its toll in the final stages, when a side like Morocco or Brazil might have taken advantage of Scotland's lack of control or composure. Haiti were never that team. The angst can wait. When a team has won only 4 of their 23 appearances on the world stage to go top of Group C, it feels harsh to quibble over win number 5. This was a rare and precious night to be a member of the Tartan Army. The strains of Free From Desire belted out at the final whistle in a party atmosphere. The last goal for Scotland in the World Cup finals came from Craig Burley against Norway in Bordeaux in 1998. The dam burst when an outstanding piece of control from Shay Adams laid the ball off to the brilliant Ben Gannon-Doak after 28 minutes. On a night when the pocket dynamo announced himself on the world stage, a driven cross was turned goalwards by Adams and saved by keeper Johnny Placid. Breaking kindly through McGinn, the midfielder's strike was heavily deflected off the knee of Wilson Isidore before finding the net. Lucky? Possibly. Welcome? No question. The Aston Villa captain's 21st Scotland goal was also his first since November 2024. Gannon-Doak was at the heart of anything good Scotland did in attack. The Bournemouth winger was electric until making way for Ryan Christie, and so nearly claimed an assist as the Scots came to within inches of the opening goal after 17 minutes. Cutting in from the right, he laid the ball off for Scott McTominay to leather a first-time effort against it upright from 18 yards. How much more enjoyable this game would have been with a 2-goal margin. So long as it was won, it was tense, it was nervy, it was never likely to be anything else. Steve Clarke went with a 2-4-4 in build-up, inviting Haiti into a press in the hope of firing over the top into the gaps. It didn't always work, but the Scots did pose more attacking threat in the opening 45 minutes than they had over 3 games at Euro 2024. After a rich vein of form, Lauren Shankland was given the nod alongside Shay Adams and endured a difficult night. Every touch was heavy, every pass was mishit. Scotland lacked control, and when they struggled to contain Haiti's counter-attacking threat, they were blessed by their opponent's lack of quality in the final third. At right back, Erin Hickey had a tough night against winger Reuben Providence, earning a booking early in the second half and becoming the Scotland international to be penalised for failing to take a throw-in within 5 seconds. You always felt a second goal might be needed, and McGinn had the chance to get it when he snatched a left foot strike wide off the far post just before Steve Clarke made a triple substitution, introducing Lyndon Dykes, Ryan Christie and Nathan Patterson. What a moment for young Finlay Curtis when he made his World Cup debut with 8 to play alongside Kenny McLean. By going with 2 up top, Clarke sacrificed one of his main men in midfield. The need to add another layer of protection against Haiti's quick counter-attacking football secured a start for Lewis Ferguson as a holder in a 4-1-3-2. The decision was vindicated with a relentless shift from Bologna's captain. His physicality and work rate was exemplary. McGinn was always coming back into the team, and he also justified that decision by scoring the nation's first goal at a World Cup for 28 years. After a fine first half against Bolivia, Ryan Christie must have felt a deep sense of injustice when he was named as one of the substitutes before replacing Gannon Doak in an unfamiliar right-wing berth for the final stages. There were 5 changes in the end. The oppressive heat and physical demands of the tournament will make this a squad game. The goalkeeper Angus Gunn had a night to forget in the opening game in Germany. After weeks of debate and angst, the Nottingham Forest man won the nod over Craig Gordon. There was a serious scare when he spilled a driven cross from winger Reuben Providence after 34 minutes, Jack Hendry heading the danger clear. Haiti reacted well to Scotland's opening goal. Strong, athletic, comfortable on the ball and quick, they posed a threat until they reached the final third. Cursed by a lack of penetration, Gunn might have had quieter nights in a Scotland jersey, despite Francis Pirot causing palpitations with a late header which sailed past the far post. He can expect a busier night against Morocco for sure. Say what you like about an America World Cup. The setting was stunning, and the same might be said of the build-up. The long turnstile delays and bottlenecks were ridiculous. Through sheer perseverance, the Tartan army forced their way in and laid siege to the Boston Stadium. Vast flags, a slow walk onto the pitch for the two teams, and a spine-tingling rendition of Flower of Scotland from a support ferried to Foxborough in a convoy of yellow school buses reduced substitute goalkeeper Craig Gordon to tears. He was far from the only one with something in his eye. Vastly outnumbering their height and rivals, the number of salmon pink shirts must have had SFA marketing men and kit manufacturers at Adidas rubbing their hands in glee. Already cashing in to the tune of £10 million from an appearance in America, all it took to gauge the success of the latest away kit was 2 working eyes. They were everywhere. The concern was Scotland had never won a game at the World Cup wearing their away kit. This was a decent night to break the hoodoo. Only 4 third-place sides miss out on a place in the last 32 of the World Cup from the 12 groups. And the pace and quality of the finishing in Brazil's 1-1 draw with Morocco offered a sobering reminder of what lies ahead. While the win is a win, another display as nervous as this could be punished. Realistically, Scotland had to win here to retain any chance of progress, and they did. It was always a game in Group C on which so much hinged. 4 points will almost certainly be enough to get through, but will 3 points suffice? History shows that it might, but only if the goal difference is -2 or better. Not for the first time at this level, goal difference could kill them. That report was written by Stephen McGowan and read by Ian McKenna.
Evening Times Sport, June 15. Caroline Weir, a true Scotland great, but team must prove mettle, says Alison McConnell. If anyone doubted what Caroline Weir brings to Scotland, there could be no ambiguity now. 7 goals in 2 games, 3 hat-tricks across this FIFA Women's World Cup campaign, and an influence that is unmistakable. Having been given the armband at the start of the campaign, Weir has clearly taken the responsibility on, and then some, as she has been the heartbeat of Melissa Andreatta's side. The midfielder, set for pastures new next season as she leaves Real Madrid, has been exceptional as Scotland have topped League B Group 4. It will not spare them the negotiation of playoffs, but there is little question that they now go into those games from a position of strength. Having been spooked by recent playoff ties, the Republic of Ireland and then Finland progressed to the World Cup 2023 and the European Championships last summer at Scotland's expense. And that was after insipid displays across both games. There are questions to be asked about whether Scotland have the mental fortitude for these encounters. At the outset of this campaign, when the relegation from League A to League B laid clear that by necessity there would be a playoff route to navigate regardless of outcome, it at least offered clarity on the situation. As such, Andreatta has spoken about pressure and intensity at pretty much every press conference, insisting that players need to be ready mentally for what lies ahead of them in these late autumn games. It is 2019 since Scotland's women were last at a major tournament. Weir, like Erin Cuthbert, has matured enormously as a player since that time. Both have been pivotal to this campaign, which is why an injury to the latter has caused such consternation. On Thursday afternoon, Scotland will discover their fate when the draw is made for the playoffs. Their position as group winners means they will head back to Nations League A, and also means that they will have a favourable seeding as the balls come out of the pot this week. Andreatta is heading to Nyon this week to be present for the draw, but she will know herself that these games will reveal the real heart of this team. If the portents have looked favourable across an unbeaten qualification campaign, just how strong they are will be revealed as the pressure kicks in. For the likes of Weir, now 31, and having already lost over a year of her career to an ACL injury, the driver will be that this chance may not come around again. She has been exceptional across recent seasons both domestically and internationally, and while she is a player who deserves to be given the platform of a World Cup, it is not quite how the world operates. A look at the squad and where they play their football suggests that Scotland have the players that can take them back to the biggest stage, but they need to have the conviction that that is where they belong. The playoff campaign will show just exactly how far this team have come since the last time they were in this position. This is where it will matter. And another thing, as the SWPL prepares for a tightening of belts, as clubs cut their budgets, the summer should offer an indication of just how severe the cuts are. Title winners' hearts are set for a significant drop in their budget, and it is a similar story across the top flight. A regression in quality is already evident in the SWPL, even from just a few seasons back, and the challenge long-term is to convince clubs that there is a reason to invest in the women's team. Anne Budge was a huge factor in driving Hearts from a team who lingered at the bottom end of the table to a team who won the title, but her departure as chair of the club meant there was no voice championing the cause quite so vocally. There has long been a suspicion that for many clubs, a female side is little more than a box-ticking exercise in optics, there by necessity rather than for any authentic desire to invest and develop teams. In the long term, what that means is a genuine danger of Scotland being left behind as teams around the world take a different approach. Short term this season, the likelihood is that there could be fewer loan deals this term, as clubs hold on to players they might well have allowed to go out elsewhere. For teams at the lower end of the SWPL, who are already operating on the tiniest of budgets, strengthening with a couple of loans will be tougher than ever. The danger, then, is that the gap between top and bottom yawns ever wider. Evening Times Sport, June 15. Reasons for FIFA snubbing Scottish referees for the World Cup. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Drew Herbertson, the former SFA head of disciplinary and refereeing, has launched a robust defence of the standard of Scottish refereeing, despite FIFA not selecting any match officials from this country to take part in the World Cup finals. Referees and VAR officials like John Beaton, Andrew Dallas, Stephen McLean, and Don Robertson were heavily criticised by fans, players, managers and pundits last season as a result of their decisions in high-profile William Hill Premiership matches. The abuse which they received, and Beaton required Police Scotland protection at his home last month after his address was posted online, prompted the Scottish Senior Football Referees Association to issue a thinly veiled threat of strike action. But when no Scot was chosen to officiate at the World Cup in Canada, Mexico and the United States this summer, and FIFA will use 52 referees, 88 assistant referees, and 30 video assistant referees at the finals in the coming weeks, it was seen by many as an indication of how poor their performances had been in the previous 10 months. However, Herbertson, who worked for the SFA in a variety of different roles for 40 years, argued that several different factors were responsible for Scottish referees being overlooked for the international tournament. And he said, "For me, it does not say anything about the standards of Scottish refereeing. It is more to do with the ultra-competitiveness of international refereeing. Not having a Scot in a seat at the top table does not help. It does help to have someone fighting your corner. Jack Mowat was on the FIFA Referees Committee in the 1970s, and Tom Wharton replaced him in the early 1980s. Hugh Dallas was closely involved with the UEFA Referees Committee after he stopped refereeing in the 2000s. That does make a difference. The standard of refereeing in Scotland is still extremely high, in my opinion, a lot higher than people say it is. Every year, without fail, people will say, the standard of Scottish refereeing now is worse than it has ever been. That happens every year. What is that based on? A decision going against your team? The training and education of the referees now is far superior to anything that has gone before. There has been continuous progress on that front in the coaching and development of referees for almost 40 years now. What they receive is first class, and for me they perform very well as a result of it. All of that said, the referees themselves still have to perform at a very high level, have to catch the eye in Europe to get called up for European Championship and World Cup finals. But Herbertson, who has just written Scotland's International Football Referees 1872 to 2025, is optimistic that Nick Walsh will become the first Scottish official to be involved at the World Cup since Hugh Dallas in Japan and South Korea in 2002 at the next tournament in Morocco, Portugal and Spain in 2030. And he says, Nick got promoted into the elite category at UEFA level in mid-season, and there are high hopes within the SFA that he will continue to impress. He took charge of a few games in the Champions League last season and did well, and if he keeps doing that, then who knows what will happen. Nick was identified by the SFA as being a good talent very early in his career. He has been in the system for 10 years and is still only 36, so he has a lot of years left. Hopefully, he will keep on progressing and get to the next World Cup. Scotland's international football referees 1872 to 2025 by Drew Herbertson is available to buy now. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, June 15. Matthew Lindsay points out what Scottish supporters forgot amid outcry over Celtic penalty award. Drew Herbertson, the former SFA head of disciplinary and refereeing, has attributed the outcry over the penalty that Celtic were awarded in their penultimate William Hill Premiership game against Motherwell at Fir Park last month due to a lack of understanding about VAR. Supporters of Motherwell and top-flight leaders Hearts were incensed when the Parkhead club were given a spot kick by referee John Beaton for a Sam Nicholson handball in the 8th minute of extra time in the league fixture. Kelechi Iheanacho converted from 12 yards to snatch a 3-2 victory for Martin O'Neill's men, and the defending champions would go on to beat their Tynecastle rivals 3-1 at home 3 days later and secure their 5th successive Scottish title. Wooly Collum, the SFA head of refereeing, backed Beaton's call when he spoke on the VAR review show a fortnight later, and stressed that Nicholson had taken a huge risk by jumping with his arms in a raised position. Herbertson, who spent 40 years working at the governing body in a number of different positions, feels the controversy would have been avoided if fans fully appreciated the reasons that new technology is used. And he said, when it comes to VAR, people focus on whether something was a clear and obvious error. They forget altogether about the other thing that VAR is supposed to do, and that is to detect missed offences. There is nothing clear and obvious about John Beaton missing that offence, but it has been a missed offence, and so that is why he had to intervene. Andrew Dallas was the VAR that night. First of all, well done for identifying the potential incident. Once John Beaton comes over to the monitor, he is quick to make a decision, and that suggests to me that he is quite content that it is a handball. Football is becoming more and more disputatious. The problem nowadays in football is a simple one. People just do not accept the decisions of the referee. They will argue the toss about anything. So many of these contentious incidents happen so late in the game. If they happen earlier in the game, then play continues and players move on. The SFA Key Match Incident KMI panel, which is comprised of 3 independent experts such as former players, coaches and members of the media, as well as an ex-referee and a SPFL club representative, deemed the decision to award Celtic a penalty to be incorrect by a majority of 2-1. But Herbertson said, "It comes down, dare I say it, to the composition of the panel. I used to handle the admin work for the review panel, which operated for a few years, a quarter of a century ago. It had a former player, a former manager, and a former referee on it. Quite often an appeal against an incident that was a clear sending off won the day, because the panel had a former player and a former manager who were convinced, from their own knowledge of the game, that it wasn't a sending off. The referee was always outvoted. Something similar happens with the KMI panel, in my opinion." Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, June 15. Transfer exit linked Celtic star urged to stay for now. Report by Blair Meikle. Benjamin Nygren has been told it may be better for his career to stay at Celtic for now. Last season's top scorer, scoring 21 goals in all competitions from midfield, is believed to be attracting interest from Premier League clubs as well as from further afield. Having signed for just £1.7 million last summer, there is opportunity for Celtic to make a large profit within just a year. However, his fellow Swede, Thomas Brolin, feels it may be wise for him to stay in Glasgow at the moment. The former Leeds and Crystal Palace star has seen Nygren improve and develop in his year on Celtic and feels that can continue, giving him a platform for a big move a year or two down the line. He said, "What is best for Benjamin Nygren? I have no idea. He has had a fantastic development curve at Celtic, and it is probably fantastic to stay there and continue that development curve until the next step when he is ready. Whether that is this year or next year or whatever, I actually don't know, but his curve has been very positive, so then it can be good to stay in the same place for a while longer." Brolin admits he would have loved to have played for Celtic himself, having watched Henrik Larsson thrive, and he feels he could have done the same. Asked if there was ever an interest from Scotland, he said, "I don't think so. I know that Larsson thrived very well at Celtic, so I probably would have thrived at Celtic too, since I know Henrik very well. So if I were to choose, in hindsight, then Celtic sound like a good club." Meanwhile, Ange Postecoglou has branded Dejan Maeda as an absolute freak with elite physical characteristics. The Australian was the man responsible for bringing Maeda to Scotland, signing him due to his knowledge from Japanese football. Despite Reo Hatate and Kyogo initially looking like the best captures from Japan, the 28-year-old is arguably the one who has generated more of a legacy with his form over the past couple of seasons. After winning Player of the Year awards during 24-25, he has had a quieter start to last season before bursting into life towards the end to help the club to a league and cup double. As well as goal-scoring prowess, his most redeeming qualities are his physicality and pressing ability. His former boss was working as a pundit for coverage of Netherlands against Japan at the World Cup and enthused about Maeda. Said Postecoglou, "Dejan Maeda, he's a pressing machine. I worked with him. In terms of physical characteristics, he is absolutely elite. If the Dutch are sleeping on the ball, he'll close them down. Absolute freak of a physical specimen. His ability to close down the opposition, he's got a real appetite for it. He's just exceptional. His goal towards the end, Martin put his arm around him and got the best out of him because he was going through a tough time. At the end of it, he was unbelievable. He scored an unbelievable goal against Rangers, an overhead kick. That's the freakish ability he has, not just from a physical perspective, but to score goals. Really looking forward to see him playing during the World Cup, because he won't be daunted at all. He's got that sort of nature about him. He doesn't care who he's playing against. He knows the physical capacity he has. He'll match himself against anybody. Report by Bob Meikle.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service